So, at this point, you've been assigned your first video lecture, and you've probably been required to do what's called a WSQ. Remember, WSQ stands for Watch, Summarize, and Question. This quick video tutorial goes into specific detail as to what you should do when you're asked to WSQ a lecture. The WSQ process is a three-step process. Step 1, watch the video. Step 2, take notes using the WSQ format. Step 3, pair discuss question with peers the next day. Whenever you're watching a video lecture or how-to video or modeling video, you want to first make sure that you have a quiet space where you can watch the video in peace. As you're watching the video, you want to be sure to take the notes under the watch portion of your WSQ guide. If you need to pause, you can pause. That way you can get all the information that's needed. If you need to rewind, you can also rewind so you're able to get the information and go back. If there's some information you've already gotten or information you already know, then you can go ahead and fast forward, allowing you to be able to go through the video quickly, easily, and seamlessly.
So did everybody go and watch the video last night?
The next day in class, it's time for pair, share, and discuss. This is the point of the lecture in which you begin to discuss with your peers information that they got from the video and information you got from the video. You want to share information that you've received from them. Maybe there's some parts of the video that you just didn't understand. This is the time where you can ask one of your peers to see if they got that information. So you're literally pairing, you're sharing, and then you're giving your reflections and questions about everything that you've seen. So it really is a collaborative method and effort. The next item we want to discuss is your pocket folders. Now, your pocket folders should have already been created. Once again, just to recap, you have your manila folder, and inside are 6 pocket folders that you can slip index cards into, like so. Now, we'll be using these pocket folders for different things. We may be using them for pattern repetition, as in we're reading text and we notice a specific theme across the book, and we want to find examples of those specific themes as we read the text. We also may be reading it when we read poems where we see different literary terms, and we'll find quotes of those literary terms. Primarily, though, we'll be using it for textual analysis, where I'll give you a specific theme or pattern or question that you have to solve, problem you have to solve, and you'll write different quotations on the index cards, and then put them in their appropriate pockets. So as you're creating these, make sure you have some type of space over here. That way you can always paperclip something too. Now this is your pocket folder. You can decorate it if you have an urge to decorate. If you don't, I prefer that you leave it intact the way that it is. So now let's talk about how we use our pocket folders. Now, the text I'm going to be using as an example is Here I Stand by Erica Goldston. It's the 2010 valedictorian of her high school, and she called to question the very system of education. So, some themes or patterns that emerged in Erica Goldston's article was school is focused on a goal, not necessarily focused on learning, and overall schools are failing. And so, those are the 2 themes or patterns we want to look for. So what I'm going to do is, as you can see, the text has already been annotated, highlighted. I have notes. I have different questions. This is a very good, properly annotated text. Now my job is to see if I can find themes or patterns from the theme of focused on a goal. So what I'm going to do is, as I see something and I see a quote that will support or defend or represent the theme or pattern focused on a goal, I'm going to write that quote on my index card, like so. So I've written my quote. the next thing I want to do is I want to then draw a conclusion. Based on that information, based on that quote, what can I infer or generalize about schools that are just focused on a goal, not on the students' learning? And then I write my reflection, or I write my thought about that quote as it relates to the theme or pattern I'm discussing. Once I have everything written down, I then put it in my appropriate pocket. And then I continue on through the text. The next day in class, as we're discussing, and the teacher wants to discuss the themes of schools as a failure, I'll go to that pocket where I'll take out my cards and I will read a quote that I feel represents school as a failure in the text. And then I'll also discuss the conclusion that I've drawn about that theme and about what the author was trying to say. So the pocket folders really help you look at the text in a different way. It helps you take the text almost 3D like, where you're taking lines out of the text and putting them someplace where you can hold them and be tangible to them. The last function of the pocket folder is going to be for you to build your essays. When it's time to write your first 5-paragraph essay, you have three body paragraphs that make up your five-paragraph essay. So 3 of the pocket folders will represent each topic of your body paragraph. As you're reading your text, as you're reading your different texts, so for example, you may have an informational article like Here I Stand. You may have a poem like Anonymous. You may also have a comic strip like Calvin and Hobbes. So you have 3 different texts, and all 3 texts have something that will relate to your topic or the theme of schools are failing us. How are schools failing us? So the last thing that I want to focus on is utilizing your critical reflection journal. Now, by now you've already created your critical reflection journal. You already have your table of contents inside. Now, my table of contents has a lot of table of contents. Yours may not. You also already should have your pockets, and you already should have some information in your Unit Point 5, the State of Public Education. At this point in the semester, we're on Unit 1, which is the Survivor unit. So the big idea of this unit is, what skills does it take to be a survivor? And if you're not on this unit and you're on another unit, it's okay. The same qualifications and the same technique that I want you to use in getting the most out of this journal still applies. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the first empty page. And you always, at the top of your journal, you want to make sure that you title the article. So the title of the article I'm using in this example is Miraculous Survivors. And it's by John Blake. And this actually gives us a source, CNN. Now, and then also you want to put the date that you're doing your reflection. I'm doing my particular reflection on February 6, 2014. So now we need to divide your paper, because you're going to have outside class reflection inside class reflection, and then post-discussion or post-PDEA reflection. So you want to take the paper and you want to draw a line precisely down the middle, maybe about 1/3 away from the bottom. And then you want to draw so you're going to draw that vertical line. Then you want to draw a horizontal line right underneath the horizontal line. So you have three compartments. Now, the compartment to the left, that is your class discussion and reflection. The box right beside it, that is your outside reflection. And then lastly, the box underneath, that is summary and post-class reflection. Now, let's talk about each box. The class discussion reflection is simply what it says. In class, we're going to discuss this text. And you're going to be able to listen to, reflect, challenge, agree, disagree with some things your peer says. But that's going to greatly change your summary or post-class reflection. Or let's say someone says something very interesting that you like. Or let's say you have a question that you pose. You want to write that in your class discussion reflection. Let's talk about box 2. Box 2 is very important. That's your outside reflection. Outside meaning it's not a part of the group class discussion. Sometimes I'll have you read text silently in class, in which case you do this outside reflection in this box right here. But majority of the time, your outside reflection is going to be literally outside of the classroom. Now here, I'll typically have you maybe respond to a big idea or question that I want you to look for, and look for clues and look for answers as you're reading the text. And as you find answers or clues or evidence of that big idea or question, you'll write them out here. So, using the miraculous survivors as an example, the big idea or big question is, what skills are necessary to be a survivor? So as I'm reading and as I'm annotating, I'm looking for skills that may help a survivor, help a person to survive. What skills are common to all survivors? So I'm underlining, and then I'm annotating. I'm still underlining and annotating. Just because I'm in this reflection journal doesn't mean I stop annotating. Actually, I use both interchangeably. So then I want to put here, oh, okay, so I see that they're not whiners. No victims. And then also your outside reflection, anything interesting that stands out.
Reginald Baldwin, please report to Student Services. Reginald Baldwin to Student Services.
Sorry about that. Also, anything that stands out for you, or any words that you don't know, you can still annotate them in the text, but also you can reflect on them here. Now, the last thing I want you to do in this number 2 box is give your overall thoughts about the article. Just maybe no more than 100 characters, maybe a little bit longer than a tweet. So if you could tweet me about this article, what would you tweet me? So give me a Twitter or Facebook response. No more than 100 characters. Now, the next day in class, we're going to have our discussion. This is where in class, let's say someone has a difference of opinion than you. Or let's say someone says something really great. Then you might want to bring that up, or someone points out something that you didn't think about. You're going to write all of that in this post-class discussion. So it's almost as if you're taking notes during the discussion. And then lastly, when we bring everything to a close, you'll have your summary or post-class reflection, in which I may ask you another question. So I might ask you a post, big idea, or closing question. You'll think about it silently within your individual Padea groups. You'll write your answer, and then you'll discuss the various answers that you have. Now, typically in the course of the semester, we'll sit down when I'm getting ready to give you your first unit project, and then we'll go over all of your critical reflection journal pages that you've come up with. And that way you can, now this journal is going to better help you critically think. Also, it serves a great purpose because on the EOC, you have constructed responses. The Padea seminars and your critical reflection journals are all centered around creating verbal constructed responses. That way, when you see them on the test or you see them in an AP exam or SAT exam, you know how to respond to these questions. Also, if you plan on going to the college level, you'll do this constantly in your college classes, especially your sociology, your psychology, and your English classes. So you want to make sure that you really are taking the text, absorbing everything, thinking outside the box, challenging the text. If you disagree with something that the text said, then write it in your reflection journal. If you agree or disagree with what somebody said in the class discussion, write it on the class discussion reflection. And then finally, if you had a change of heart, then write that in the summary so you'll get to see how much you've grown and how much you've stretched.